That's it. Like, get it out the way up front. Rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah. Most of this is just rip the Band-Aid off. Like, hey, look, bro, boom, 450. What we
not
doing?
Attractive. Hey guys, this is Hope Said It, back with another Hope Said It Uncut video for you. And today we are talking about divorce, but not necessarily how to get a divorce or anything like that, really how to prevent it. We're talking about the top reasons couples get a divorce, and hopefully from the male and female perspective, we can help you kind of deter yourself. Or if you're not in a relationship, just know what to do and things to look out for. So today I have my husband, Brandon, with me, and we'll just see what he says, because Lord, we don't know. So say hi.
What's up?
So the top reason, I know a lot of people say finance, and that's one of them, but the top reason that was listed by Forbes is lack of commitment. So explain that a little and what you feel that is.
Well, I'll say, first off, I'm a faithful subscriber to the Hope Said It podcast. So make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube.
I'm so done.
You know,
and I'm not rude. I have like notes and stuff. Yeah. So I'm actually like doing this.
If anything, so at first when I read that, was it commitment?
Lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment. At first I was thinking like infidelity and stuff, but then I realized, that's actually number 2. So then I had to rechannel or kind of rewire my brain as far as how I'm thinking lack of commitment. So then I thought, okay, it's probably lack of commitment to the relationship. So I guess my interpretation, because I'm thinking lack of commitment to the relationship, is that they both came in, and one of the things when you get married, people talk about being equally yoked. And with that, there's a coupling that goes on basically where each side or each party has to give and take a little bit in some aspects. And there's obviously conversations and things like that are had so that y'all can get to that point and then it become equally yoked. Because it's kind of hard to do that if one person's trying to hang on while the other person is trying to fight against certain things. So that's what I interpret lack of commitment as, where they were basically saying, hey, these two parties tried to come together, make it happen, but it turned out it was, oil and water or whatever. For whatever reason, they couldn't necessarily get on the same page because maybe they weren't fully committed or sold on the relationship to take that leap of faith and say, you know what, this is how I normally do things, this is how I feel, this is how I think, whatever the case may be, and acquiesce to certain things in order to make it work. So that's kind of how I interpreted it.
Well, in marriage, you're going to have for better or for worse. So I think that in some of the situations when that worst comes, that's where you really have to commit, because it's easy when it's, good. I mean, the wedding day is going to be probably the best day you're going to have. And then life is actually going to happen. So it's really, are you going to commit? Are you going to really show that you're in it? And a lot of the times people are like, no, this is too much for me. So I guess how do we go about, how do you go about with that lack of commitment, like fixing that area?
These are all premarital things. That's true. And there's some other data, in your little list there towards the bottom, I believe, of other things that to me are all premarital items that should be addressed. So Hope and I, we went through premarital counseling and we were very, very compatible, like ridiculously compatible. But the one area that we had an issue with, which we knew it, thankfully, but that's because we talk, which is crazy because we talk a lot, we communicate a lot, but communication was our biggest issue as well. And part of it, I think, was because of a personality trait in both of us as far as being very dominant personalities or large personalities or whatever you want to call it. So because of that, communication became was our thing of being able to speak to one another healthy. From the place that we sit as far as husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend at that time, as opposed to adversary or especially because of our career paths and arcs or whatever, as far as talking to the other as if they're a peer or an employee or something like that.
I think that's the biggest thing I had to work on, because we're both, it's cool when you're fire and water, but we're kind of both fire. So it's like, if someone doesn't pipe down, it could get ugly. And so I think over the years we learned, is this worth it? Never mind. I won't even talk back, not in the dismissive, we're avoidant. No, not really, but really not every argument needs to be had. Sometimes it's just like, okay, noted. Okay, never, there's no point in me saying this, so just know what to talk on and know when you need to be the water in the situation and just de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, well, that was like a commitment. I don't know if we necessarily solved it, but just be in it. Marriage is nothing but I don't think there's like, we have great chemistry. Yes, that's part of it, but really it's the commitment. It's the choice you make every day to be together. So just know, if you even have that heart in the first place. And the second one is probably the one you guessed. Infidelity or extramarital affairs. That is another top reason for divorce. Very, I don't know what to say that.
Wait, this is easy one for me because we done covered this already. Last time your boy was on here, told y'all, man, she cheating, I'm leaving. Like, it's a wrap. So, like, hey, man, I know, hey, like Hope said back then, hey, we're going to go through counseling, this, that, and the third.
Okay.
And I'm like, look, man, like, I'm not going to sit here and say I would not, because it's easy to say it from sitting in the seat when you haven't been through it. However, in my mind, in this moment right now, if you're asking me, hey, if Hope stepped out, is you bouncing? Or like, are y'all done? I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm done. But with that said, I know she would be too. So, You know what I mean? I think we're on the same page.
Yes.
Point number 3.
Okay, we're talking about how then do we prevent it? And you know what? This is a good question, because all the time when you see, different podcasts or whatever, just people talking about cheating and, men and this and that, how can you explain that? Because I always hear that, men are going to cheat. Men are prone to cheat. And we're like, man says he's not cheating, he's lying. How do we go about, like, what is your perspective on that? Because that's not the truth, I don't think.
Well, I think if you've heard enough women speak, they'll even admit women cheat as well. Maybe they ain't caught. Maybe they're more discreet. Maybe dudes don't speak on it because it's like a part of a shame. Kind of like, dang, bro. Because, if your woman steps out on you, it's not like, at least in my perspective, if a woman cheats on her man, if the woman cheats on her man, her friend's going to ask her, what was he not doing for you? Like, it's his fault that you cheated. And if a woman cheats on a man, they're going to ask the man, bro, what was you doing? Why couldn't you satisfy or take care of your woman? It comes back to the man always, right? But at the end of the day, we also talked about this. Like, my job is to be here to support you, to stimulate you, everything like that. But like, if you're not happy, like genuinely, if you're just genuinely not happy, there's but so much I can actually do, right? Like if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do or I can do as your husband and you're still not happy, that's not a me thing at that point. That's a you thing, because I've done everything, right? Like, let's just stereotype real quick. I'm paying all the bills, I'm taking care of the kids, sexually you're taken care of, all that stuff, and you're still not happy. Then it's like, well, that's a you thing. It's not a me thing, right? And vice versa as well. But at the end of the day, I definitely believe people who cheat, like, they was going to cheat, period. Like, that's just what it is, right? I just feel like you just had the opportunity and you took it. I definitely believe that if you don't want to cheat, you're not going to cheat. Like, I'm not saying it's like some magic pill and whatever, but I don't subscribe to the thing of all men cheat. I don't subscribe to the thing of if you cheated, then the other person wasn't doing something. I subscribe to the fact of we're all human. People going to do what they want to do. So if you want to cheat, you're going to cheat because you made the decision at a point. Like, you didn't just fall into the vagina or whatever. I'm saying, I was trying, but you didn't just fall into it. You didn't just accidentally end up at this person's home or in these close quarters. Yeah. Like, you made a decision at a certain point that you said, I'm not finna go back, right? Like, you had plenty of time to leave that situation as far as the cheating situation, and you decided not to, right? So, yeah, and obviously I'm talking about like physical cheating, because there is emotional and things like that. Yeah, but I'm talking about like physical.
I think just a way to avoid it. So just FYI, not all men cheat, okay? Not all men cheat. The time you're taking to nourish this new relationship is the time that you could be taking to fix the current relationship that you're in. So you're taking all this time trying to get attention from someone else, when really, well, how about you just take that time to fix your relationship with your spouse, to figure out what's wrong, to go to counseling, to do whatever you need to do, because there are so many steps that you take before you get to the actual act of cheating, So, just seek help. And no, it's not in your DNA.
Yeah, okay? and I guess in regards to emotional cheating, the one thing I'll speak to is like, that's where getting to really like truly know your significant other on a deeper level comes into play. Because we're all going to go through seasons, ebbs and flows. We change over time. The hope isn't the same.
For sure.
person that she was when we were dating in college. And I'm not the same person that I was even 5 years ago or whatever. So, but knowing your spouse or your significant other, then those lines of communication are open. So you're able to talk about it. So like you'll both see and understand the evolution that's going on with the other person. So therefore, obviously you can either change with them or you can at least understand them, on a deeper level. So therefore they're not seeking, whether by choice or accidentally, so to speak, somebody else's emotional, undercare or emotional comfort
for sure,
to help them get through whatever it is they get through.
Third top reason people divorce, and this is, common, too much conflict and arguing. And like we mentioned, we had a huge problem with, well, not huge, but we had a problem with communication, and sometimes still do, so yeah, there can be a lot of arguing and conflict, but I think how to prevent that, at least in my eyes, is to know that, well, are you trying to be right or are you trying to, fix the situation? Are you trying to solve a problem or be right? Because a lot of the times I could be like, I could really come back with this and it'd be 100% right, but would it do anything for the situation? Like, do I want to be right and then get a divorce? Just know that you need to pick your battles.
Oh, this is where happy wife, happy life, the myth comes into play.
Oh, here we go.
I'm saying, like, that's what it is. Because obviously these arguments or whatever that's happening, somebody ain't happy. Like, somebody ain't happy. And if she was, let's just happen to say, so you're having an argument, and usually in an argument, one side believes they're right, one side believes they're wrong, right? That's the basis of an argument, right? Let's just hypothetically say she was right, old buddy's wrong, but for whatever reason, old dude is like, I might be wrong, but like, this ain't working out. That's why we're still arguing, because this situation ain't working out, or whatever it is that we're arguing about isn't working for me. But she was happy though.
Yeah.
But he still ain't. So he's like, yo, I'm not happy. So happy wife, happy life. Hey, where she happy and she's happy, you still ain't happy. So that's why, like I said before, it's a myth, it's a fallacy, it's false, it's a lie. At the end of the day, you both need to find that happy place in y'all's relationship where both of you are getting exactly what you need from each other and outside of each other as well. Because again, he or she can't be the only thing that makes you happy or whatever the case may be, but they should be an integral part of doing that though.
Well, it's important also to not skew to left or right of the situation. Like, obviously, don't be hot all the time and argue all the time, but don't be avoidant either. And I'm thinking of, I don't want to name drop or anything, but like John and Kate plus 8, when that show was on, like, we all knew this man is real passive. Like, he's not going to say much. And then what happened? All of a sudden, he woke up and was like, you know what? I'm not going to take it. And it's like, well, that's because you were taking it this whole time, So just know how to even communicate and know how to fight fair. Don't just, name call and be ugly to each other, but also don't think you're doing yourself any favors by just never engaging in an argument at all. Next one is getting married too young. Now, the weird thing about this one is that in the stats, and I might get it wrong, but I'll double check my notes if I need to. But in the stats, it shows that basically if you get married at 25, you're 50% less likely to get a divorce than if you married at age 20, which makes sense because you're kind of more mature. Yeah. But then the weird part is that like at 32, for some reason, that's by 32. Let me get the stats of it. However, for those who marry after age 32, divorce rates increase by 5% per year until the age they are wed. So it's like, 25 to like what, 31, 32, that's the sweet spot. And then after that, they're like, hey, every year you're not married, it's 5% more. That's kind of okay. So explain why you can see that. So
that 25, if you think about it, just the life path that we go through, 25 is usually around the area where a lot of people are either graduating or are recent grads. So they're in their first kind of, cycle of a career. Mm-hmm. And then they meet probably whoever, and then they kind of, have their kids and go on their path. But the thing is, though, those people probably met at a very similar moment in their life where they're recent or soon grads, whatever. Their life is changing. They're quote unquote adulting now. And they're both living life together. They're both going through life together. And speaking to that point earlier that I talked about as far as understanding the other's evolution, they're able to do it together, see it together. So then by the time they hit that like 33 mark, they're like, man, look how far we've come together.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot to be said for somebody having been in your corner through it all. Right. Like when you was taking me to champs and I ain't have nothing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Unnecessary.
I'm just speaking on it. Right. But then, like we've talked about, because we know people in the situation that are in that like low to mid 30 range. So between 32, 35, 36 area. By that point, you're probably in the middle or like right, like, usually career-wise, exactly what I'm doing, your path, you're in it deep enough that you're like a true professional at this point, probably a decade of experience. And life in general, you've lived to that point, probably single or not having to be accountable to anybody. And you're starting now to settle into your ways of what you like, don't like. And now also because of where life has taken you, your list starts to grow of things that you will and won't take or deal with.
Yeah.
But then the population as well, because again, people are living life, you're going to run into more people that have a kid from another person. And then again, like we talked about, if you're one of those people where you're like, well, I ain't have no kids. Some people don't want to take on another kid, so to speak.
Yeah.
While some people are like, look, I got a kid from somebody else. I ain't trying to get into it with nobody else. You know what I mean? So I think that's why that stat right there is like, as they start to get up, that rate of divorce increases tick by tick by tick.
Well, the older you grow, the more set you are in your ways.
Exactly.
Like you
said. So I think it's a lot harder.
It is. So after, I can imagine if I didn't meet you, if I wasn't, whatever, by 30, I'm like, dude, I did this by myself. I'm doing this with my career. I'm not necessarily stopping my career, and doing a lot of things just for him. Like in earlier on, I was like, okay, well, I'm moving here because of this, but if I'm more set in my career, if I was higher up or whatever, I would be less prone to move or less prone to kind of, change my life because of it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Either way, just premarital counseling. That's what it is. So just know if you're ready to get married and know that, don't rush into it or anything like that. But, and also remember that these are just statistics, they're statistics, that's data and that's great, but you can beat statistics. So just because you get married at some age, don't think, 5% every year that goes by is 5% less, success rate. That's not necessarily the truth. If you know why people get divorced, you can hopefully, work against that and better your life and your chances as well.
And these are overall, not specific to like a racial demographic.
No, these are overall.
Okay.
Like if you actually go to the blog post that links to the Forbes article, then it gives breakdown of race, kind of, sort of, but it also gives a breakdown of age and the occupation that gets divorced more and less and stuff like that. The states that get divorced more. So it just has a lot of that information. I'll
have to go check that out.
Please do. Link below. Next is a one that, you would think of probably first is financial problems. Is a huge reason for marriage as well. And I don't know, maybe because people don't talk about finances. So I find it very weird when someone is married or someone's about to get married and they're like, oh, I don't know how much debt he has. I don't know his credit score. And I'm like, what? You're taking on that debt. No, that's not what you do. And actually what helped us is premarital counseling. When we did our premarital counseling, I would say that's one of the classes that we actually had to pay attention in. Everything else was like, yeah, we kind of knew this. But for finances, we're like, oh, seriously. What are we doing with our accounts? What is this? What is that? How much do you owe? So, because I didn't know anything. Anywho,
financial, because I always hear that financial is like it's one of the top. And in my opinion, when you say one of the top, I'm thinking like 3. Like 3, 2, 1. Like that's top to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not, well, he's 50 and he's like, nah, stop it, man. Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, financial being at its spot, I guess I thought it would have been higher, but it makes sense. Money is a hard topic to talk about, especially going back to that last one. The older you get, you set in your ways and you're like, yo, why y'all up in my pockets? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like dang near you don't really want to just surrender it all until the deal is done. Right? Because you're like, look, I'm going to show you this. And then you're gonna be like, well, I can't do it. Like, you don't call it off. So then you feel like, well, was it just about the money then? Or like, what's the deal? So I think it's a lot easier when you're younger. Neither one of you really have a ton to give, gain, or lose in that situation. So,
well, I think one of the reasons is probably not higher. I know it's probably still one of the top reasons, but a lot of the time, finance is like that straw that broke the camel's back, and it just reveals more. Like, money amplifies what's already there. So, with money and the lack thereof, you see, like, we suck at communication. You didn't tell me about this charge. You didn't do this and that. You know. So, yes, it's money, but it's deeper than money. It's more than that. You find out that they're not a good spender. You find out that they're not a good communicator. You find out that they hide stuff from you and they don't communicate when they're purchasing stuff, you know? But yes, just know that, and I know it's not a popular opinion, but you're not necessarily doing it wrong if you have two separate accounts. If you have separate accounts, period. I think you're doing it wrong if you're hiding accounts. If there were an account which, you know, his name isn't on it and he doesn't know about it, no, you're not like siphoning money somewhere else, you know, like.
Oh, so you ain't being like that little one basketball wife who was having a little money
but
to
you
the
don't
side.
have to.
I ain't say no names, but y'all can do little goofs.
Okay, anyway, so just know that any account that is open, just make sure they know about it. That's it.
But we can provide opinions. We can't fix these people's problems.
Well, I'm not trying to fix problems.
As far as fixing, I mean, just being transparent. Like, that's it. Like, get it out the way up front. Rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah. Most of this is just rip the Band-Aid off. Like, hey, look, bro, boom, 450.
That's not attractive. Hopefully you can.
I'm just saying, like, just rip the Band-Aid off early on, get it out the way.
That's true.
Because it is what it is, man.
And just make sure you have your stuff together. Because, I mean, some people are broke. Some people do have kids and they have to pay child support and this and that. Now, their money's a little thin. So that's just something you need to know. That's something you need to realize if you even want to deal with in the future. I don't think we need to spend more time on this next one, but substance abuse.
Shout out like a drink.
Substance abuse. That could be drugs or alcohol.
You're right. I don't want to say substance. I think alcohol, but yeah, you're right.
Really? I always think drugs, but yes. But yeah, just seek help.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. That's really it. I mean,
because that's an addiction. That's like a disease, you know? So that's something you have to seek help for. That's not something you can just, you know, say, oh, we'll just work it out. Yeah, pray about it, but seek help because that really is a disease.
You got that one. Let's go move to the next one.
All righty. Well, domestic violence.
Pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, don't get hit. Don't
hit or get hit.
Okay, I'm just saying don't stay in that situation.
To your point on the last podcast I was on.
Yes.
Let's say you and your spouse, man, woman, don't matter. We ain't even finna apply who hit who.
Anybody.
But let's say there was a physical altercation. So not just yell, but a physical altercation.
Okay.
We're not going to speak to the severity because I don't want to get into this whole semantics thing. Of course. But is it possible that they get into their altercation, the parties involved get counseling, and then they stay together happily ever after?
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, people are always willing to. If you're willing to change and if you're actually going to do the work, then fine. I just find that very hard to believe because a lot of the time when you get to a certain point, you've already been doing it. That's your life. So this one instance is not going to...
So an incident versus a habitual...
For sure. Offender. Because, I mean, you have to understand, abuse is a cycle, you know? So it's always like, yeah, he knows how to apologize. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, man,
but he... Oh, sorry. He or she...
They...
The person knows how to apologize, you know. So I don't go into the loop of, oh, he felt so sorry, this and that. Because I personally have had people who have been in that loop to where it's like, okay, did it again. Are you going to leave? Are you going to, you know? So just know that it's a serious situation. And it's not just physical, emotional, financial, just any type of something that's manipulative.
No, that's it. Go on to the next one.
Okay. Well, there you go. Lack of support from family. That was one that I just didn't expect to be on the list. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. But if you have the lack of support from family, especially when you're connected to family, I think that in situations where you're kind of lone wolves anyway, and you're like, I'll abandon it, you're abandoned, and we're making our own family, that's fine. But when you come from people who have these big loving families and they're like, oh no, my mom's opinion means everything to me, that's when it kind of gets dicey, especially if it's like, okay, well, now you have a wife, your mom ain't really feeling your wife, what we gonna do? And that's gonna be that tension. And obviously as a wife, I'm thinking, well, you need to back me up. And he's like, but my mom. So it just gets into a horrible situation where someone is in the middle getting pulled.
Yeah, non-supportive family is a tough one. It seems like, though, I haven't like been in that situation. I only know like one person who was in that situation. And I guess stereotypically, it was a religious thing, which we'll get to that later. But it was a religious thing. So they weren't supportive. It had nothing to do with him. It was because that she had a different religion than he did.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it wasn't that, it was just that they're thinking usually about like, hey, our grandchildren and how you're going to live.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing, right? And it seems like a lot of time with those non-supportive families, it's something in that vein. Like it seems like usually a reason. Like, oh, he hit you before. I'm sorry. They hit you before. Or they didn't support you when you were doing X, Y, Z. Or, you know, they have a different religious opinion, or man, their family don't like us, so we don't like them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It seems like it rarely like a thing with the couple themselves or whatever. It's usually like, you know, something you can attribute it to.
What's the saying? You don't only marry them, you marry the family. Yeah, exactly. And that's true. And people could say, hey, that's not true for me. It is the truth. Whether you want to admit it or not, that family has an influence. So just make sure that it has good footing. You know, it's not necessarily the end all be all, but it does make a difference, especially when it turns into like all of them don't like you. If you have no one on your side, the odds are against you. Next is health problems. And this one is that was kind of messed up. Right. This is very sensitive to me because my dad had kidney issues, you know, kidney transplant, all of that. And my mom was there all the way for him, you know, many medical issues, but either way.
I feel like this, I say a good 85% of women would not have done with your mom.
And she was very by his side, you know, so.
Well, even just altering like her diet and everything to make it easier to fit. I'm like, I know a lot of people are going to be like, yo,
no salt, no sugar. So she's eating the same thing.
She did that for how long?
Yeah, like 10, 15 years. I don't know. It's forever.
They ain't finna do that. A lot of them, they ain't like, I'll make 2 different plates, which is fine. That's fine. My point is she was all in, period. And you couldn't question it. So,
and that's why I just don't like this one, because I'm like, well, they get sick and what happened? And I get it. Health is hard. When you get sick, you could logically say, well, the person changed. No, like, you know, because I hear when someone is diagnosed with cancer, well, they change, their emotions change, their personality change. That's not the man I married. Yeah, but you said better for worse.
Man, dude got cancer, or they got cancer and are potentially staring death in the eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
so obviously you're not going to be happy. You know, it's not a happy situation. It's not their fault necessarily. I don't know. It's hard and horrible. I know that there can be some debilitating type health issues, but I really think if you said for better, for worse, then there you go. Like it's not going to be easy, but my goodness, health problems. Like I guess for me, I'm just thinking, well, what if it were me? If it were me, not me being the caregiver, but if I were the one getting sick, my hope, like what? That just messed up to me. But either way, religious differences was next.
Makes sense. I feel like whether you are or aren't a religious person or have a belief, that shapes part of your personality and who you are. And then, of course, that bleeds into other aspects of just daily living. So how you maybe wake up, if you have a routine, holidays especially.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, things you do and don't believe in politically, because that, again, there's an influence there. So I definitely could see that, to where two people come together, very certain, I'm not going to say the relationship was surfacey, but they got together on the surface as far as, I'm attracted to you, attracted to me. Oh, we have great chemistry, or we have a great conversation, or whatever the case may be. Things go on. And then now, once you do get time for marriage, or you get close to marriage, or you're in marriage, now, especially if you have kids, you have to start to have these real conversations that maybe before y'all kind of swept under the rug, kind of skirted around a little bit. Like, hey, we celebrate Christmas or, Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Juneteenth or like, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of different like holidays, because holidays is a really, really big one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the other stuff y'all can probably kind of figure out, but the holidays is a really, really big one for sure, because that's where it's, like a lot of the obvious is going to come out. Like, so what are we doing? And then why are we doing it? You know what I mean? So, I can definitely see that for sure.
I know a lot of people who may have had different religious differences, but then you see when you have kids, because that literally is the question. What values are we now instilling into our kids? And that's when you see the atheists who are like, well, actually, I want them to choose. And the Christians who are like, no, goodness, you're going to learn about Jesus.
Yeah.
And, the wishy-washy, let them choose. That's a hard place to be, because at the end of the day, what holiday are we doing? Where are we going? What are we doing? Are we going to church on Sundays?
Well, beyond that, I mean, a child is going to be influenced by their environment. You can still let them choose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just believe like a child's going to be influenced by their environment.
That's the whole point. If you're not influencing them, someone else is.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, they have a choice as far as if they do ultimately decide to subscribe one way or the other, I guess. But the influence, I believe, is what's going to drive a lot of that decision making, at least early on in their life. Once they grow up, they get a bit older, maybe they rethink some things, but at least early on, And as far as like fixing it or kind of trying to figure it out how to operate in that space,
that's a hard one.
Yeah, because it's a hard one.
That's like isn't that one of the like kind of red flags we kind of said before, to where you just have to. That's like you got to have a conversation.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of couples who are fall on different sides of religious, non-religious belief. But that's got, again, it's kind of like up there with the financial piece, where it's like, y'all got to have those conversations. Like, you just got to be open with that conversation. If y'all want to make this work, that's fine. I know it could work, but y'all gonna have to rip that Band-Aid off and be like, well, look, here's what I believe, or here's what we're going to do, or, hey, I might not believe this, but my family does. So we kind of got to do this to get to that family point or whatever. So like, y'all just have to understand where each other sits on whatever topics might be important to you.
That's true. And know that, I don't know, I just don't believe in lukewarmness. I feel like you're either advancing or regressing. So even if you are like, no, I can make it work, I can be this and he can be that, well, then somebody is changing. Somebody, you're not some stouched, devout, person, and your partner is not. You just can't do that, I feel, successfully, because someone's going to be regressing. Someone's going to have to be compromised and acquiescing because someone has different values than you. That's what I feel. So the last one is little or no premarital education. That's a reason for divorce as well. I absolutely believe that if you are trying to get married, you do need to go to premarital counseling.
And when she says premarital counseling, she don't mean your grandma, your great grandma, your uncle, them, and getting their advice.
Yes.
I don't want their advice. I want a third party independent arbitrator to talk to us and provide us, obviously, from advice, but also from a mental, sociological, whatever you want to call it, perspective as well, along with tools that they have to be able to kind of help us out. Like, we took this exam in premarital counseling.
Yeah.
And that's how we figured out, like, communication was one of the things, although we knew it, but that's where we kind of confirmed it, whatever you want to say. And that exam thing was really, really helpful. That was one of the tools they really used. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the reason I say that, going to like a local family member or something like that, for one, there's going to be a built-in bias. Like, it is what it is. You can't help it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a built-in bias. Like, we have kids, we have 3 of them, but there's certain biases towards each one. And I don't mean like a favoritism thing. I mean like I know how that kid is. I know how that kid is. I know how that kid thinks. I know how they operate. So it's going to be a bias to being like, he probably ain't do that, but he did. No, I don't believe it, because I know he don't do that. Right? But I'm just saying. So that's why I'm like, go to a third party, somebody independent, somebody who can equally look at you both, or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. And I mean, you sister wives and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. What are we doing? No, we're not doing this. This is for monogamous relationships.
Okay, hey, whatever. I'm just saying, y'all, it's a lot of stuff on TV.
No, I don't care what's on Hope said it. We're talking about monogamous. We're like, what in the world?
Hey, man, I don't know, man. What
Just continue.
Anyway, going to that person who can look at you both equally, you two equally, and provide proper, guidance.
We had 6 to 8 weeks premarital counseling as well.
Premarital counseling, yes.
At a church.
Like family advice.
Yes, at a church. So, and it wasn't just, the pastor's talking. No, it was actually experts in the different areas. Like the financial planner was there and, psychologists and all this other stuff. So just know that as well. So those are the top 11 reasons people get divorced. Hopefully, as you're entering relationship, as you're in a relationship, you just keep that at the back of your mind, knowing that, hey, we're in this situation. We need to resolve it so we don't become one of the statistics.
Can I add a bonus one to see where other people would rank it?
Okay, a bonus not.
We're not going to talk about it. I want to see not on the list,
research.
But I wonder where they would rank it.
What are you talking about?
So let's say, because I know this has happened too, the physical changes. Right? So I just want to know in the comments. Are you
serious?
Where,
no.
Based on the top 11, we're going to make it 12 to make it even. Where would you rank physical changes on this list for reasons for divorce?
First of all, that would just be like a commitment. If you
that ain't
That is.
It could be, but we ain't gonna do that.
You know what? A lot of people. Let's talk about
you rank it?
Where would I rank it?
We ain't gonna get into details. I just want to know where would you rank it.
I don't think that's a top thing. I mean, hold on.
If you just throwing something out there, yeah.
It's going to be in the middle.
And mind you, we're talking about a physical change that the person is able to correct and they decide not to. Like you get fat and you don't want to lose weight. I
think that would be above substance abuse. So that's going to be like kind of like right there in the middle.
Top half?
Yes. Like if it's 12, it's probably the 6th one or something, I don't know. Because that's.
I was wondering because, it happens all the time. But what I'm talking about is he or she let themselves go, or maybe they don't, keep themselves or whatever. And you're like, hey, you need to maybe lose a couple, or hey, maybe can you clean yourself up a bit, whatever, like more presentable, whatever. And they themselves don't take the initiative to actually do that because you communicated to them, you've given them every chance, etc. And then of course that to me will bleed into other areas of them becoming more undisciplined. I think that's part of it. So that's it. I just want to know. I just want to know what the people think. Like, where would they put that on the list?
Where would you put physical change on the list?
Facts.
Comment below and let us know.
Comment below and let us know.
Like I said, the top reasons for divorce, in hopes that you're not one of those statistics as well. Guys, that's all for Hope Said It. Be sure to like, subscribe with all the YouTube stuff. You know what to do.
Like, subscribe, share, and comment. Do that.
Don't do any of that. But anyways, follow me at Hope Said It on social media as well. If you want more of these statistics, it's at hopesaidit.com in my latest blog post. I'll link that below as well. And I'll see you all next week. Bye. Gosh. Hey guys, this is Hope. Where's the?
I think it's the bottom. Oh, it's the top.